पे 300 वर्कर थे जब हंगर स्ट्राइक करा था 7-8 नवंबर 2012 को। उसके बाद से देखिए अब तक का एक पूरा समय 8 महीने का मारुति मजदूर आंदोलन का समय हो चुका है। उसके अंदर तमाम उतार चढ़ाव रहे हैं। 7-8 नवंबर की भूख हड़ताल के बाद मजदूरों ने तमाम वहाँ के जो काउंसलर थे और हरियाणा सरकार के मुख्यमंत्री से लेके तमाम खेल मंत्री से लेके उद्योग मंत्री सबके पास एक दिन के प्रदर्शन करें। और आज स्थिति ये थी कि उनके बाद जो प्रदर्शन होते रहे, मजदूर भी लगातार देख रहे थे कि एक दिन के प्रदर्शन से बात किसी मुकाम तक नहीं पहुँची है। उसके बाद उन्होंने 27 जनवरी को रोहतक में बड़ी रैली करी मुख्यमंत्री को। वहाँ मुख्यमंत्री ने भी दो यही जवाब दिया मारुति वर्करों को कि अगर दोबारा रोहतक में आते हो तो आपको अंदर कर दिया जाएगा। उसके बाद अभी ये स्थिति है कि फिर अंदर ही डिबेट चली वहाँ पर मारुति वर्कर यूनियन के अंदर और वर्कर होगा कि स्थायी हम लोगों ने भी सुझाव दिया कि वहाँ पे स्थायी धरना पे बैठा जाए, वर्करों को लगातार एक जगह स्थायी धरना दिया जाए। और स्थायी रहने के लिए जो गुड़गांव की सेंट्रल ट्रेड यूनियनें थी उन पे पहले निर्भरता थी, लेकिन उन्होंने अपने हाथ खड़े कर दिए। उसके बाद वर्करों ने डिसीजन लिया वो जाके कैथल में बैठे। कैथल में 56 दिन बैठने के बाद वहाँ पे 75 दमन हुआ मजदूरों का। और अब स्थिति ये है कि पिछला लास्ट जो 18 जुलाई को कॉल दिया गया मानेसर में दोबारा 1 साल पूरा होने पर उस घटना को, उसके अंदर जो संख्या थी मजदूरों की वो घंटे घंटे जो एक मतलब कह सकते हैं भारत के मजदूर आंदोलन की एक मिसाल बन सकता था भारतीय मजदूर आंदोलन। आज जहाँ पे खड़ा है वहाँ पे, क्योंकि ज़्यादातर जो मजदूर है अभी कल GVM भी हुआ लास्ट 17 तारीख को हुआ था, 17 जुलाई को। 18 को जो जुटान था उससे पहले GVM हुआ था, वहाँ पे 60 वर्कर थे। अगले दिन जो जुटान था उसके अंदर भी 60-70 वर्कर हुई। तो इसका एक पूरा क्या कारण है? क्योंकि भारतीय आंदोलन से बहुत नज़दीक से जुड़ी रही है सुजैन, उनका भी अपना एक पूरा ऑब्जर्वेशन होगा कि पूरे मारुति मजदूर आंदोलन, क्योंकि ये सिर्फ भारत का मजदूर आंदोलन के तौर पे या गुड़गांव मानेसर का मजदूर आंदोलन के तौर पे नहीं देखा जा सकता। पूरे विश्व स्तर पे इस पे लोगों की निगाहें थी कि मारुति का मजदूर आंदोलन कहाँ तक आगे बढ़ेगा। अब मौजूदा जो स्थिति है उसके बारे में सुजैन क्या सोचती है, कहाँ खड़ा है पूरा मारुति का मजदूर आंदोलन, और पूरे उसी के परिप्रेक्ष्य में वर्किंग क्लास मूवमेंट है उसकी स्थिति क्या है?
This question is not related directly to what we have talked about, but very the question, I mean, since you have been associated with Maruti's struggle going in Maruti Suzuki for a long time now, and the way it has developed and not developed subsequently, the strength, I mean, when the workers started, they started in huge numbers, which went on declining subsequently, and the struggle was seen all around the world as some kind of which had a potential of a breakthrough struggle, but which didn't materialize. So in light of your experiences with the struggle at Suzuki, how do you think the workers' struggle in India is poised right now?
You know, it's hard not being from here to understand all the layers and dynamics of what's taking place. But you know, there seems to be a lot of struggle of some kind taking place, right? Many sectors and many factories in many places. You had general strikes that had 100 million workers here and there. In fact, I remember when I was in Egypt on June 30th, people were exaggerating the number of people who were on the street. They were saying 17 million, they were saying 33 million. And the people were saying on social media and elsewhere, it was the biggest demonstration in human history. And I said, no, it's not. Not only because that's ridiculous, but even if you think it was, I kept telling them the Indian workers had a temple strike the past 2 years where like more than 100 million workers came out, you know. So that's definitely much bigger than what happened on June 30th. But at the same time, I felt that as if it was a different nature. Maybe that one of the advantages that we have going on in Egypt is that the most established federation is the oppressive state federation. And the other federation, the Independent Trade Federation that's seemingly left, is small and has little influence among the workers. And so much of the worker actions and agitations remain grassroots, remain grounded and organic and grounded and developed from actual worker struggle. And don't and are able to sort of maintain themselves without being co-opted by any kind of false politics. But then at the same time, in the same vein, they're also struggling because they don't have a party, the workers in Egypt. They don't have a true party to sort of represent them. So they can't really go beyond another level. But as far as sort of the worker struggle in India, I mean, my point here is to say that it feels like that there's a lot of powerful interests that are part of the game of worker struggles that are drowning the real sort of voices and aspirations of the workers themselves. And there is a lot of both direct and indirect repression of workers' movements in India. Because you have a state that's largely neoliberal and largely pro-investment and largely engaged in both violent and then sometimes very subtle, very corrupt ways of stopping workers' movements, either from being born, or even if workers' movements are born, they're only allowed to reach a certain level. They're never able to go beyond a certain level of struggle. And because they're stopped by these interests, whether they be the federations or they be the governments themselves. And it's hard to fight that when you have a large population who still thinks that India is a democracy. It's hard to talk about what's happening to the Maruti workers when you reach such a wall in that kind of conversation. But that's my observation. But as I said, it's I'm really an outsider. It's hard to sort of understand all the dynamics of what's really going on. I mean, the Maruti struggle is a struggle that I have found to be very important, and I think people that I know outside of in the United States and elsewhere have found to also be very important because it sort of represents the ability for any workers in Egypt to sort of go forward with this kind of struggle for independence.